followed by the pound.
Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our subject matter expert for today, Christopher Rausch. As either a professional speaker to many or as a personal development specialist to one, Christopher's enthusiasm and positivity are absolutely infectious. With his entertaining ability to capture and hold the attention of his audience, he is able to share extremely valuable information you can use immediately. Christopher's passion is helping people realize their fullest potential in all areas of life. In addition to being a successful business entrepreneur and published author, Christopher is also the materials manager for Patty Americas. He manages a diverse team who handle the daily operations of distribution, print, and mail services. Christopher's professional credentials include a bachelor's degree in business management and a master's in organizational management. Recently, Christopher was elected as the president for his Toastmasters chapter. In his spare time, Christopher enjoys teaching kids at his local Olive Crest organization, Life Building Skills. You can learn more about Christopher at his website listed here on the screen. And now I'd like to turn things over to Christopher.
Thank you very much, Eric. Good afternoon and good morning and good evening to everybody. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Great. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and mute the call, and we're going to get started. Okay, thank you very much for that awesome introduction, Eric. There's actually one correction, and it's a positive correction I'd like to make to that introduction. And I was recently promoted to Director of Materials, and now I have even more responsibilities and more team members. So I'm very pleased and appreciative of that, so I wanted to share that with you. I'm a very goal-driven person. Anybody who knows me knows that I love to motivate people. So a little bit about myself, just to let you know how I've built my goal-setting skills. I was a homeless 7th grade dropout when I was 13 years old, and I spent about 4 or 5 years on the streets learning life the hard way, if you will. And what I did is I went back and I decided to go back to school, and I went back and I got my general education diploma, and then I decided that wasn't enough, and I decided I wanted more for my life. So I went and I achieved my master's degree, as Eric said, and currently the director of my other job, if you will. And I own my own business. I own a couple of houses, and I am dead set on achieving every goal I set my mind to. And today I want to share with you some philosophies that I've used in my life and I've used in my coaching practice and my speaking practice to help people achieve their dreams. Now, one of my favorite quotes is, if you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. My man Tony Robbins said that, and I have that on my mirror because it reminds me that if I'm not achieving what I truly want out of life, that I have to actually change what I'm doing. And a lot of people get stuck in that. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So today, we're going to talk about our self-created adversity. We're going to talk about SMART principle of goal setting. We're going to talk about how to give yourself an attitude adjustment. And we're going to talk about getting started and staying going. And then also we're going to incorporate time management. Now, we have a short amount of time here on the call today, so we are going to jam-pack some information in for you. So, without any further ado, the number one goal we have in life, when you boil it all down to everything, is to be happy, right? I mean, we all want to be happy, and we try to find that happiness in different ways. So I found that when you have a big enough why, you'll find a big enough how. And that's in my coaching practice. I have found that a lot of people just don't have that why. They don't know where to get started. They don't know how to go about doing things. And today I'm going to help each of you find your big enough why, and I'm going to help you find your big enough how. I hope that sounds good to you. Now, first off, we need to look at some questions that I want you to consider, and I'll be happy to email this presentation to you. If you want, you can email me, and I'll email it back to you. But I call it the 5 W's. The question is, why do you really want it? What's the worst thing that can happen? Who are your 5 people? And where can you start today? And finally, ask yourself the question, when will you have had enough? Because that is really when you make the dramatic changes in your life, when you've just had enough, you just reached that point where you just can no longer take it anymore. And we're going to go through and we're going to answer these questions today so it makes it personal to you. And when you answer these questions, you're going to find more success and more positive goal-setting strategies in your life. And I hope you appreciate that. So, let's start off with your reality. The graph I have up here is something that I use in my personal coaching, and everything starts at the bottom with the conditioning. From the point we're born until the point we're at now in our life, we have been conditioned to believe certain things about ourselves and about the outside world. The conditioning, as you can see from the graph, makes our beliefs, and our beliefs shape our attitudes. Our attitudes make our feelings thereby result in our actions, which culminates in your life. And you can see from the presentation up there, I've got a couple of quotes: belief inspires reality, accept it or change it. And then the two red circles are fear and excuses. Now, in all of the people I've coached and helped over my life and the things that I've had to overcome to get where I'm at today, I had to get rid of fear and I had to stop making excuses. I just couldn't do that anymore. That's just not the way that you set goals and you achieve successes in your life. A lot of people are held back by fear and they excuse themselves out of really achieving what they want. So today I'm going to help you overcome those two things. So we have to look at where we were, where we are, and where we're going. And somebody put it very succinctly for me one time. They said, Christopher, your past does not equal your future. Your past does not equal your future. And when, like I was saying before, if we look at our conditioning, we look at the way we were judged. We were, if we were bad, if we tried something, love was withheld, we have a fear of rejection. All of that past stuff, I call it baggage. We need to let go of it. We need to learn from it, but we also need to let it go and get on with our future, because I'm going to share with you today, our future is rather small. And I'm going to use an exercise I do with my coaching clients to represent that to you today. You will not feel the same way about your future once you see this exercise, I promise. As far as the present, a lot of people get stuck in their comfort zone. It's comfortable, it's safe, I don't have to go outside, I don't have to do these things that don't make me feel comfortable. And part of that is, being lazy. Part of it is making assumptions that you're always going to have tomorrow, or you're going to have this much time left. And we take those things for granted, and it makes our beliefs. It makes what we're doing our true reality, unfortunately, until it's too late. And that's what I've discovered in my professional career. And as far as the future, it's uncertain. And I think that's the thing that scares people the most, is they just don't know what's going to happen, the big what-ifs, and that paralyzes them to stay inside their comfort zone. So today we're going to talk about getting out of that and achieving the future you want with a lot of passion and a lot of energy like I have. Move on to the next slide. So, vicious circles. Life is full of vicious circles, whether it's a positive vicious circle or a negative vicious circle. As you can see by the simple graph I've got up here, if you have a bad attitude, that will lead to a negative event, which will lead and further perpetuate your bad attitude. And it becomes this vicious cycle to where you just look at everything as being negative. And when you do that, the world looks at you as being negative too. It's kind of like The Secret a little bit, where, what you put out in the world comes back to you. The same holds true for being positive. For example, if you feel like crap and you go to the gym and you start to feel a little bit better, you build that self-confidence. If you start going to the gym and feeling better, then you have more energy. When you have more energy, you want to do more things, and it really manifests itself. So I encourage you to look at your circles and what you're focusing on the most, because that's going to become your reality. Oh, belief inspires reality. This is so absolutely true. We have in our minds a belief system, like I said before, based on our conditioning. Now, personally, about 2 or 3 years ago, I decided that I was no longer going to watch the news or get engaged in politics and things that I could not have any effect on. You watch the news and it's all negative and the world's going to hell in a handbasket and all these bad things are going to happen, so why even try? So my focus is on the things that I have the ability to do and affect today. And for those of you joining, thank you very much for joining today. I'm actually going to do something really quick here, and I'm going to say, see if we can do this. I wanted to put a personal face to the message and say thank you very much for coming today, and I hope you get a lot out of today's webinar. And feel free to email me later on if you have any questions. But I just wanted you to see my face and see I was a real live person. And we're going to go ahead and continue on with this. I'm not going to keep it up because I might sneeze. So belief inspires reality. You get more of what you focus on. Coming back to fear, the number one reason or excuse, I'll say excuse, I get for people not achieving what they truly want out of life is fear. Now, fear is false expectations appearing real. 98% of all fears are never realized. They are only in your head, and they prevent us from actually going out and trying stuff because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of judgment. And in some cases, even for myself personally, we're afraid of success. We're afraid of uncertainty. We're afraid of not having enough skills. But ultimately, we will survive. And there is an outstanding book I'm going to recommend to you called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by an author named Susan Jeffers. It's an incredible book that really shows how fears are really ridiculous and that ultimately, no matter what, you will survive. And once you know that no matter what happens, no matter what you do, you will survive, it may be terrible for a while, but you will survive, it makes it easier to try things. And you have to try things, otherwise you're going to be paralyzed in that comfort zone, and one day you're going to have regrets. And regrets, honestly, are a terrible thing to have. I have two personal goals in my life I'll share with you. Number one is to stay the heck out of a hospital, and number two, to pass away without any regrets in my life. And so far I'm doing awesomely at achieving both of those. Now, I've said before that I would be sharing with you some of my core philosophies in life. And I've been through a lot of bad situations in my life. My mother just recently passed away about 4 months ago. My little sister passed away about a year ago. And everything happens for a reason. And it's up to us to decide what that reason is. And I meet people who have overcome incredible obstacles because in that moment that was so terrible, they decided that that reason was something to motivate them to get past what they were currently experiencing. When my little sister passed away, I found a reason in that it was to make the father a more upstanding dad. It was for her sister to become a mom when she couldn't become a mom. Everything happens for a reason, and it's up to us to decide what that reason is. If we want to become a victim of it, that's what's going to happen, and you're going to get more of that. That belief inspires reality idea will continue to perpetuate itself into a vicious circle. If you look at it as, okay, here's what it is, what can I do today to make it more positive, then it becomes a positive reason, and you get over it and you actually become more successful. So think about that when you have a bad situation and you go, there's a reason for it. Also, one of my core philosophies is accept it or change it. A lot of times when people come to me and they say, Chris, I don't know what I want to do, and they just mire in their own doubt and their own negativity, I tell them you have two options. You can either accept it or you can change it. But the people that just sit there and complain about it over and over and over again are going to continue to get that until they hit a particular wall. So I encourage you, if you have something that's going on in your life and you're not sure what goals to set, find something that you either need to accept and move on or something that you need to change, and that's where we get into the goal-setting aspect of this. Short-term versus long-term. A lot of us, we're in a immediate gratification society where we want immediate gratification. We want to eat something, we want to drink something, we want to watch TV, we want to go somewhere. We want that short-term gratification. And that short-term gratification often impedes long-term results. And I'm about to get to an exercise that's going to help you realize that. So I encourage you to think about the investment of your time. And we're going to talk about time here in just a minute. Again, pain versus pleasure. Tony Robbins talks about you do things in life for two reasons, to either avoid pain or to seek pleasure. And when either one of them overpowers the other, that's when you actually have change. So today, in the exercise I'm about to do, I'm going to make you feel a little pain. And I apologize for that in one respect, but in another way, I know that once we go through this, you are going to feel differently about your time left here on Earth. So in talking with time management, one of the things I ask people, and I would ask you now, is if I gave you $1,440 at the moment you woke up and I said, would you spend it wisely, what would you say? Of course. You would say, yeah, Chris, I would spend it wisely. But here's the kicker. If you didn't spend it wisely, you had to give it back. So how I parlay that information is that when we wake up, all of us have 1,440 minutes in a day. And it's up to us how we choose to spend that time. And time is something you cannot give back. It's something you cannot get back, you cannot purchase from somebody. Once the time in the hourglass is gone, it's gone. So when you wake up in the morning, you have 1,440 minutes to spend wisely on your life to make your goals happen. So really think about that, because I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of older people, senior people, and, you know, the regrets of, I wish I would have done this with my time is insurmountable. It's crazy. So one of the main reasons people come to me and they say, Chris, I don't know where to start. And I'm sure many of you may have seen this before in your life, but one of the best places to start is to think with the end in mind. Where do you want to end up? What do you want your legacy to be? And then work backwards from that. For me, it happened at a funeral. And I thought, okay, when I pass away, what are people going to say about me? What am I going to be remembered for? And so I sat down and I did an exercise, which I will share with you in just a moment, that helped me determine what my life's purpose was supposed to be. And now, for the exercise I've been talking about, this graph represents your life. Now, I'm going to use myself as an example. You start off at 0 years old, you're born, and then you go on to maybe 80, 90, but the average life expectancy is 75 years. And this is an exercise I really encourage you, after the webinar is over, to sit down and do with yourself, because you will really reshape your focus on life. Or you may choose to ignore it and go on about your day and think about doing it some other time, but at least for now, let's look at life expectancy of being 75 years old. So for me, I'm 42 years old, so I have 33 years left based on this. And this is all loose math. It's nothing concrete. So if I want to, say, retire and I need $3,000 a month to live on, I need $36,000 a year, right? So if I have a goal right now to retire at the age of 60, that will mean I'm going to spend 15 years in retirement. And based on that calculation, which isn't very much money when you think about it, $3,000 a month, I am going to need $540,000 to live in those 15 years comfortably. Now, we know that Social Security is what it is, and we're not certain what it's going to be. So this simple exercise alone is pure motivation enough for me to set some serious goals about saving, about increasing my earning potential, and really investing in myself from a educational standpoint so that I don't fall behind the curve with technology and everything else that's going on. That's why I'm currently going through 2 other certification programs, because my goal is not to end up at the age of 60, 65, or 67. I think 67 is where you get your full Social Security benefits. I don't want to end up there and be, pushing a card out to people at Walmart saying, hi, thank you for coming to Walmart. My goal is to retire and have a comfortable enough income, residual income, that I can live comfortably. I don't want to spend my life, suffering after all I worked for. So this is an impactful exercise because it really shows you that there's not a whole heck of a lot of time, and it's sad and it's negative in one way, but like it says down there at the bottom, now we have a goal, right? So I encourage you to do that, because either way, the time is going to pass. Living versus existing. Ask yourself, are you truly living and experiencing life, or are you just going through the day-to-day doldrums and going, okay, maybe tomorrow, or maybe when the kids grow up, or this is what life has dealt me, this is what it's going to be. Really think about if you're living or existing. And if you're existing, take that opportunity to sit down and think about what you want to do. And what that really boils down to is, what are you passionate about? Now, when I was thinking about my life and thinking about what I was passionate about, what I was currently doing was not anything passionate. I was just kind of going through the motions and listening to music and, doing my hobbies, but there was nothing I was really passionate about. And that's when I went back to that exercise of thinking with the end in mind. And I said to myself, okay, what's going to be my legacy? What am I going to be remembered for? And I sat down and I actually did my eulogy. And I sat there and I said, okay, this is going to be an exercise. I'm going to write my eulogy, and this is what I want to be remembered for. And I have to tell you, I knew that I had it when I read it back to myself and tears went down my cheeks. I knew that my purpose in life was to help people overcome their self-created adversity, to really have an impact in the world in a positive way that people would say, wow, Christopher Rausch really got me to think differently about my life. Christopher Rausch really made me realize my true potential, even though everybody before him said I couldn't, you know. And so I encourage you, this is one of the exercises I do with my coaching clients, and I have to tell you, it's one of the most painful experiences they go through, but ultimately, after they've written it, they know what their purpose in life is. And at that point, we're able to sit down and we're able to make specific goals for them to actually start achieving. So think about what your legacy is going to be. And also, like I said before, my mom just recently passed away, and I had the opportunity, and I call it an opportunity because I went to lots of different hospitals and lots of different convalescent hospitals, and I talked to people, and I asked them, you know, so how was your life? What did you do? What kind of information would you give me as far as advice? And everything was always, you know, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. I wish I wouldn't have watched so many football games. I wish if I had it all over to do again, I would do this. Hindsight is always 20/20. And I'm here today to help you realize that what you're doing with your time and your goals really will impact you. To look at these people and their faces was incredibly painful for me. It was the pain versus pleasure. Is the pleasure of ignoring what I'm doing worth the pain of sitting in a wheelchair putting a puzzle together just waiting for time to go by? Heck no. There's no way. There's no way. So I encourage you to really think about that with what you want to do in your life. You know, don't look back and go, I wish I would have. You know, people watch football games all day Sunday, and then they come to me and they say, Chris, I don't understand why I haven't achieved what I wanted to do. It's that short-term gratification versus the long-term investment. And if you truly want to end up with that legacy, you have to start doing stuff today. That's about being proactive versus reactive. Oftentimes, when we're faced with a situation, we have to react, and we actually have to finally take action. It's that pain versus pleasure. I tell you, be proactive. Look at what you want to accomplish in life and start doing it today. And so you're not in that reactive state, because usually when we're reactive, we're not thinking clearly, we're not doing stuff that is really in our best interest, and we have to get through it. So make that investment in time and get proactive, and get your family involved with that as well. This is a goal, and I can send it to you if you send me your email and you want it. This is a goal I do with people when they say, okay, I'm going to write my eulogy. I don't know what I want to do. You know, if somebody came up to you today, God forbid, and said, Mr. Rausch, you have terminal cancer and you have 7 weeks to live, I can tell you honestly, my perspective would change. Even though I am already goal-oriented, I would change what I was doing. And so this is an exercise we do. If you had 7 days to live, if you had 7 weeks to live, if you had 7 months to live, what would you do? And sit down with yourself and say, okay, I would want to go to Hawaii, or I'd want to be with my loved ones, or I'd want to go race an Indy car, or I'd want to go jump out of a plane. Write it down. Don't give yourself any limitations. And then start realizing and start setting specific goals to achieve those things so that ultimately you don't have those regrets. And really make those a priority in your life, because if you only had 7 weeks to live, you probably would do it. Now, I'm not saying go out and run up your credit card and go travel the world, but look at that and say, okay, my goal is to go to Paris. Say, okay, how am I going to make that goal a reality? What type of funds am I going to need? Do I need to sell something in order to be able to do it? What do I need to do to fulfill these goals so I don't have any regrets? And being smart in goal setting, of course, you've probably heard the acronym before, but it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time specific. When you sit down to write a goal, you have to write it down. I can't count how many times people say, oh, Chris, I haven't achieved my goal. And the first question I ask them, is it written down? No. Well, how do you measure something? How do you know if you're hitting something? How do you know where to go if it's not written down? I've got it in my head. Well, guess what? If you're not getting it, then your head's not working. So make sure what you're doing is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time specific. Ultimately, also, when you look at a goal, you have to look at the real reason why you want that goal. You know, somebody may come to me and say, Chris, my goal is to lose weight. I'm like, yeah, but that's part of a bigger goal. Your bigger goal is to stay healthy. Your bigger goal is to stay out of a hospital. Your bigger goal is to attract somebody into your life. Your bigger goal is to lead and inspire your kids. So look at the real big goal, and that goes back to thinking with the end in mind. What is your specific goal going to do, and what is it going to be? And stay on it. Make sure you measure it. Another worksheet I have that I give to my clients is this. If you look at the top, it's the goal. What do you want to do? What are the benefits? Why do you want to do it? What are some of the obstacles? What are some of the ways you're going to overcome those obstacles? Oftentimes we get started on a goal and we're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. We come to the first obstacle and go, oh, God, it was too tough. I knew I couldn't do it anyway. Oh, well, I'll go back to my comfort zone, which is, BS. That's not your legacy. What are the obstacles? How am I going to overcome them? And that's usually where people get a little disjointed as far as what they're going to do and what do you need to accomplish it. And again, keep your mind open. Don't listen to the negative chatter in your brain that says, oh, my dad said I could never do this, and my friend said this was stupid. Don't think about that, because if you go back to one of those questions we talked about earlier, and it said, who are the 5 people? Who are the 5 people means who are the 5 people you're around the most? If you're around successful people, happy people, positive people, realistic people, chances are that is going to become infectious within you. You're going to have people wanting to see you succeed. But if you're around a bunch of disappointed dunskies who just sit there and go, oh, that's stupid, come on, let's go, watch the game, or come on, let's go watch the Kardashians. If you're around a lot of those people, I'm sorry to say you need to change who you're around. And that is a tough decision. Back when I was younger, I was around a lot of, popular people, but they weren't doing anything with their life. And I walked away from about 20 people who I knew very well and said, I'm going to make something of my life. And out of those 20 people, I know 3 of them still, and I just got reunited with them a couple of weekends ago and went to see a friend of ours in the hospital. And all 3 of us are all very successful people. The rest of them are in jail or dead, pretty much. So think about what you want to do and where you want to end up. But the 5 people you're around the most is very specific. So surround yourself with positive people. Say that 10 times fast. One of the exercises I do for myself and for my clients is mind mapping. Basically what that's is getting your thoughts out of your head and trying to make some sort of organization with them. And for me, it's work. You don't need a software program. I use a software program. It's actually free. But just draw a circle on a piece of paper and say, go to Hawaii. And then just start branching off and figuring out what you need to do or what your goals are in order to succeed that. If you see right here, I have go to Hawaii. Determine what islands, search websites, determine costs, plan to save money, schedule time off, plan activities. Mind mapping is tremendous because there's no judgment. And a lot of times when we're sitting there thinking about stuff like, oh, well, I can't do that because of the kids. Oh, I can't do that because I don't have money. Oh, it'll take too long. Don't do that. Put down there what you're going to do and how you're going to accomplish it, and then get to work about overcoming those obstacles. I'm surprised when I have people sit there and say, I don't have any money. I'm like, okay, what are your hobbies? I collect sports memorabilia. Okay, you have a lot of money. It's your choice whether or not you want to keep it or you want to sell it, and determining which is going to give you the greatest benefit later on. But be resourceful and try to figure out what you want to do. But with mind mapping, you can get those things out on paper and start making specific goals out of each of them to get you started. Another tremendous impact is visualization. Now, normally I ask this question in a large seminar, and I say, how many people have had bad dreams in their lives? And 98% of them raise their hand, and I say, when you had that bad dream, did you wake up and actually feel as though you went through it? And most of the participants, again, yeah, I woke up and I was shaking and my heart was racing fast, and I felt like I actually was getting shot or being chased or whatever it was. Your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and perceived reality. So when you use visualization, when you actually internalize where you want to go, what you want to do, the conversations you want to have. For example, I use this technique with a guy that wanted to quit smoking. I got him to visualize in his mind's eye a conversation with his little girl. And I said, you tell your little girl in your mind that Daddy's not going to be around to see you get married. Daddy's not going to be around to see you graduate. Daddy's not going to be around to watch you have your first kid because Daddy chose to smoke. And I had this person do this. I had them visualize in their mind having the conversation, and I kid you not, the guy started crying, and he quit smoking, and I just talked to him the other day, and he has 4 years of no smoking. So visualization is super important, not only in the internal aspect, but also in the visual aspect. I have dream boards. I have a picture frame that sits in front of me right now that actually has pictures of the things I want to achieve in life, the places I want to go in life. I have it on my cell phone. I have it on my computer. We have a vision board in our house. And funny enough, we had a picture of a swimming pool we wanted, and we had that picture up there for about 4 or 5 years. And not to tout the secret, but some of that stuff really works. And today we live in a house that has a pool like that. We just got a pool table, and I always wanted a black and blue pool table, and sure enough, we have a black and blue pool table. So visualization for your goals is important because it keeps it in front of you. It keeps it important because oftentimes we'll say we want a goal, and then we'll push it to the side, and then 4 years later we'll realize we haven't achieved it. But when you visualize and you keep it inside, you keep it in front of you, that's the motivation to fulfill what it is that's truly important to you in your life. One of my favorites, excuses versus reasons. People come to me and say, Chris, I want this, I want that, I have all these goals, but nothing ever happens. Most of the stuff, I'll say, is excuses. A lot of the biggest one is, I didn't have enough time. And I help people understand that, no, you had the time. You had the 1,444 minutes. You choose to use it differently. So you didn't have enough time. You didn't make the time. And when we take ownership of our actions, when we take ownership of our feelings and what we do with our time, it becomes responsible. And sometimes we don't like that responsibility, so we use excuses. Oh, I haven't done that because so-and-so did this. Or I haven't done that because my parents said I would never do it. I haven't done that because of this. Those are excuses. But when you come up with an actual reason, a solid reason that you can tell somebody, hey, this is why this didn't happen and here's why, and it's a solid reason, then that's a better way of understanding what you're excusing out of your life versus what you're actually taking responsibility for. And when I get people to realize that, I'm like, is that an excuse or is that a reason? In our coaching sessions, 9 times out of 10, they'll, oh, you're right, Chris, that's an excuse. I own that one. Okay, well, what can we do to find a way around it? How can we find a way that we can achieve what you're doing instead of just finding more excuses to say why you haven't done it? Negative self-talk. Isn't that a beautiful one? So much of what happens in our lives is a direct result of what we tell ourselves. Previously, I told you guys about conditioning, about the things that have happened in our life shape our beliefs and our actions and our feelings today. What we say to ourselves is incredibly important. And another book I'm going to recommend to you that I've read dozens of times is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by an author, Shad Helmstetter. You can find it on Amazon. I'm sure you can find it on Kindle. I have the book actually right in front of me. It's incredible because the things we say to ourselves are so limiting. For example, the negative, I can't, I won't, I never, problems, I hope, I wish, if. We change that to become will, or try, or perhaps, opportunity, when. The word perhaps is such an amazingly strong word. I can't even tell you how many people I've helped, including myself, when somebody sits there and says, oh, I'm a lousy singer, or I'm lousy at math, or I'm never going to be a leader. When I say, okay, perhaps you'll be a better leader if you give yourself more education. Perhaps this will be a possibility if you dedicate more time to what it is truly you want. Or if you look at something as an opportunity, it becomes more positive as opposed to a problem. Problems suck, yes they do. But when you have an opportunity to solve that problem and to become stronger, that makes your self-confidence go up. And when your self-confidence goes up, it goes back to that fear. And you know that you will survive. Sure, it's a problem. Sure, it sucks. But when you look at other people's problems in comparison, there's an exercise I do called the $1 million exercise that gets people to change how they look at their problems. When you change what you're saying to yourself, your outcome becomes differently. it makes my brain go berserk when I hear people say, I wish or I hope. You have to change what you're saying to yourself in order to change that conditioning. It's not going to be overnight. But when you start catching yourself saying, you know, perhaps I can do this. Perhaps this is an opportunity. I will give it my best shot. And I've got the word try there highlighted because it's both a positive and a negative. Because I hear people say, well, I tried and it didn't work, or I'll try. You know, that's kind of a cop-out. It's either you will or you won't. You've got to try at least, but when you've used try a lot, you need to change that. So either you will or you won't. Either it's something that's important to you or it's not important whatsoever. So be careful with that word. But, you know, what to say when you talk to yourself is incredible because when you say, you know what, I am a strong person. I am a confident person. Then you become that. If you constantly say, yeah, I can't do that. I'll never be able to do that. You know, everything's just terrible in my life. You will continue to get that. That's that vicious circle I was talking about. And it just goes back to what I was saying. Problems are opportunities. Problems are opportunities. People walk into my office now and they say, Chris, I've got it. They stop and they go, we have an opportunity. And it becomes immediately more positive. It doesn't make it rosy, but it says, you know, okay, what's the situation? What are the facts? Let's talk about some ways we can overcome it and move on. So, encourage you to think that way. We're getting towards the end of our time, so I want to talk and wrap this up a little bit and make it personal to you. I have talked to thousands of people. I have read countless number of books. I've attended more seminars than I can even consider writing about. Successful people have an attitude. You know from yourself that it's an attitude. It's an attitude that I will not let what's happening to me affect what my future is going to be. My attitude is that I'm not going to settle for something I don't deserve. My attitude is that I will fight for what is right and what is fair. And that comes with determination. You know, you can go on YouTube and type in determination, and you'll find there's this one guy on there who has no arms and no legs. He's a motivational speaker. His name is Vic. I can't pronounce his last name. You talk about determination. I mean, you have to have that fight, that burning desire in your heart to become what you believe you can be. And that takes determination, and it takes that passion. When you write out your eulogy and you say, God, I'm passionate about, you know, art. I'm passionate about sculpting. I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about, you know, nursing. I'm passionate about whatever it is. You get that fire in your belly and you wake up every day and you go, yeah, my feet hit the ground. I can see. Let's make this happen. And as you can tell from me, successful people have an enthusiasm. My enthusiasm is genuine. People always say, Chris, I hate to take up your time. You know, I've got this problem or whatever. And I'm genuinely enthusiastic about helping people overcome their self-created adversity. I thought I was enthusiastic about working on my car. I thought I was enthusiastic about playing guitar. I thought I was enthusiastic about watching grass grow. But my enthusiasm is to help people, and that's why I've created Master Motivators, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Also, you know, like I said before, feel the fear and do it anyway. Fear is such a suffocating feeling that doesn't really have any place in our hearts because 98% of the fears don't manifest. It's just in our head. So feel the fear, do it anyway, get over it, and move on with your life. Fear is actually a good motivator when you think about it. Take risks. Successful people, I mean, you can't wave a stick and find a successful person that hasn't taken a risk, you know, bought stocks or mortgaged their entire house to start a business or bought things on their credit cards. You know, I know a really good friend of mine, she and her business partner mortgaged everything, used all their credit cards to start a business. And it's probably not even a business most people would think would be financially successful. And today, after 5 years, they are making money hand over fist. They took an amazing risk, and it has paid off so much, and I'm so proud of them for what they've done. Successful people are positive. You know, it's not that, you know, rose-colored glass positive. It's, you know, hey, if it sucks right now, I know I'm going to get through it somehow, some way. You know, people say, Chris, you're such a positive person. You know, how do you always stay so positive? And to be honest, I tell myself, I'm not always positive. You can ask my wife. I mean, some days I'm downright mean. I'm just, you know, I get cynical. I get down. I have my one-day pity party and, oh, the world sucks and, you know, what I'm doing doesn't matter. And then I get up the next morning and I say, you know what, Chris? Every day's a new day, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's one of my phrases that I use quite often. So staying positive and, again, surrounding yourself with positive people will help you make those goals a reality. If you're negative and you're watching the news, turn it off. Turn it off. Turn off the Kardashians. Watch and dedicate your time. Some people ask me, what should I be doing? It's like, if you want to be more positive, watch more positive things. If you want to be more negative, watch more negative. And also, you got to believe. Like I said before, belief inspires reality. What you focus on the most will come. So believe that you deserve it. Believe that whatever happened in your past happened for a reason. And believe that what you're doing today, how you're spending those minutes, are actually going to result in at least doing what you love to do. I do a lot of coaching and a lot of speaking for free because I ask people to pay it forward and do something nice for somebody else. Go volunteer at another organization. You have to believe in what you're doing, and the money will follow. So, to wrap this up, because we want to open this up for questions, what to do? Forgive the past. Let it go. Understand that it happened for a reason. Get over it, and use it to become the person you deserve to become today. Write your eulogy. Kid you not, you write it down, you share it with your friends and your family, and you live by that eulogy, and you say every day, did I fulfill what it is that I want to do in my life today? Did I give it my best? You're going to go to bed feeling confident. You're going to feel that no matter what, you're going to succeed, and you're going to live your life by those terms. The goal sheets that I showed you in my presentation, I'll be happy to email them to you or talk to you about them. Just send me an email. I'll put up my contact information again. Choose your words carefully. This isn't going to be overnight, but when you start saying, I can't, I won't, and you say, oh, I caught myself, and you start thinking, no, Chris, or no, whoever, I can. Perhaps I can. Think about your words. And again, that book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, is incredible. Mind mapping, if you're not sure where to start, just start doodling. Just start writing things down. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up? What are some of the things you can do to get there? Create vision boards. You can go down to Michael's or Staples or whatever, get a cork board, get a magazine, start cutting out some pictures, put them in a couple of different places, and work every day to at least accomplish one thing that gets you closer. Because there's 365 days in a year. If you do one thing every single day, that's 365 things you've done. And the time's going to go by anyway, so why not spend it doing what you want to do to achieve your goals in life? I have here Google and YouTube. If I had $1 for every time somebody said, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know what it entails, Google it or go on YouTube. There is, it's unbelievable how much information that people want to share with you and me on how to do stuff, how to become more positive. For an example, if you go on and you type, I've got a guy that I'm coaching right now, he wants to become a leader. I said, if you go and type leadership.pdf in Google, you will get more information that is absolutely 100% free than you could probably ever read in a lifetime. And if you read and you apply that information daily, you will become a leader. If you go to YouTube and you Google how to clear a drain, how to become a plumber, you will find that information. People will be there in your face to share that information with you so you can do it. Again, like I said before, find like-minded people. And also, the second part of that is ask for help. It's incredible how much we live within ourselves and we don't ask people for help. We don't ask people for advice. Even I have a mentor. The guy is 72 years old. He's amazing. I ask him for help. I ask him questions. I'm not afraid to ask for help because I know that it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And I've asked a lot of people for a lot of help, and it has been incredible for my success. And another bit is small chunks. Don't look at the overarching goal as like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. Break it down into smaller chunks, and you will find success. So, in any situation, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The second thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst you can do is nothing. Because even if you do the wrong thing, like Thomas Edison with the light bulb, that was one more way he knew not to do it. So even if you do the wrong thing, say, okay, that didn't work, what can I try next? But so many times we do nothing, and that's the sad part. That really is, because then later on you find out you've wasted all that time and you wish you could go back and do it differently, and unfortunately you can't. There's no amount of money that can buy that time. So never settle, never give up, and my favorite quote, if you know me, is you are only limited by the parameters of your own mind. You are only limited by the parameters of your own mind. That means, like Henry Ford said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. This was a quote that was shared with me that changed my attitude forever, because I knew that no matter what, it was my choice, my belief, to do what I wanted to do. And if I wanted to be negative and think I couldn't achieve anything in my life, as a 7th grade homeless dropout, exposed to drugs, violence, and gangs and all sorts of stuff, to be sitting here today with you guys doing webinars and public speaking and coaching and having a master's degree and being a director, if I would listen to the parameters of my own mind, I wouldn't achieve it. So I encourage you to really think about that. And lastly, I just want to thank Eric and Barbara and everybody for attending today's webinar. I'm going to open up the phones for questions. And, again, feel free to email me if you want those forms, and I'll put my contact information up there. You feel free to see my website. I've got YouTube videos. I've got blogs. I've got Facebook pages. I've got Twitter accounts. So if you want, there's ways to follow me. So I'll go ahead and open up the phones now. Is everybody there?
Can you hear me, Christopher?
I can hear you. Yes, I can.
Great. Thank you for that inspiring message. What questions or comments do we have from our attendees?
This is Jane Patton from Central Texas, and I just think that this was one of the best webinars that I've attended. Christopher, you were wonderful.
Thank you very much. I really, truly appreciate that. I appreciate you for spending the time out of your day to do this, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Are you guys inspired?
Thank you for that comment. Anyone else?
Let me ask you guys a question. Are you going to take this information that I've shared with you and take action today?
Absolutely.
Yes, I will.
Awesome.
Christopher, I've already started writing my eulogy.
Awesome. That is tremendous. I mean, I can't tell you guys enough. This stuff works, and my one-on-one sessions or my professional speaking sessions, to see the people come back and say, Chris, you know what, I got over my own belief system, and now here's what I'm doing, and here's how I'm helping other people, is tremendous. And I just thank you guys again for the opportunity to share that with you, because, it is my passion, and I'm available, if you have questions or whatever, I'll be glad to help you.
Thanks, Chris. That was a great presentation. We appreciate you participating and taking your time today.
Oh, no, you're welcome. That was definitely my pleasure.
Thank you, everyone. We're at the end of our session. That concludes today's webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you, Eric.